As a kid growing up in the early to mid 2000s, there was no shortage of great animated shows. And the top network for cartoons, in my eyes, has always been Cartoon Network. And around this time, they were putting out straight bangers: Adventure Time, Regular Show, and Gumball, just to name a few of the titans of the time. But there was always one show that had me invested like none other. That show was Total Drama Island. Now, I don't think this show gets nearly enough love as it should because this was a straight banger. It was like a parody show of Survivor with high stakes competitions, eliminations, but it had edgier jokes and humor that 8-year-old Dusty ate up. If you ask me, Total Drama Island is an underrated gem that more people need to watch. And since I'm forcing my wife to watch the first season with me, I decided to talk about it here. And since you stuck around this long, thank you. I make these out of passion, and all I get is some joy out of making videos, so thank you so much for watching. Total Drama Island is a Canadian show created by Tom McGillis and Jennifer Perch. And these two have made other shows together, I remember, like 16 and the Disney show My Babysitter's a Vampire. Which was kind of cool to learn because I also loved 16 and felt so cool and mature watching it as a little kid. So, Total Drama Island, or TDI as I'm going to call it for simplicity's sake, aired originally in Canada on a network called Teletoon in July of 2007, then was brought over to Cartoon Network in November of 2008. The show follows a group of teenage campers, which I always thought were adults for some reason, probably because I was 8 and had no clue what teenagers acted like. But they're brought to a disgusting, filthy, and dangerous island to do the most ridiculous and life-threatening things possible for only about 100,000 American dollars. So yeah, I guess it's pretty intense. One thing I really remember, like vividly, is a scene where Heather gets her top ripped off, and it shows it with like a sensor bar over her chest. And another scene where, I forgot who it was, but somebody vomits, and it shows it, and I don't know why that always stuck with me when I was a kid, because it's such a wild thing to see on Cartoon Network in 2008. Let's go over the campers real quick so you get an idea of who they are, because each of them is like basically a walking stereotype. Beth is the typical nerd girl. Gwen and Duncan are the emo and punk archetypes. Owen is literally just Chris Farley. Sadie and Katie are like inseparable twins. Justin is the pretty boy Riz God. Heather is an entitled, spoiled rich girl. Courtney is the smart, entitled rich girl. Jeff and Bridget are the surfer types. Lashana is the southern black girl. Cody, Ezekiel, Harold, and Noah are just weird white guys. Trent is a normal white guy. Izzy is the crazy outdoors chick. Lindsay is the dumb bimbo. DJ is the softie. Ava is the tough Russian chick. Chris is the psycho, unempathetic host. And Chef Hatchet is, well, the chef. Chris is my favorite, by the way. The guy is literally unhinged. And also, Owen and Trent were always my favorite. Chris is literally, like, just unhinged. He doesn't care. He really only cares if he's gonna get sued. That's his only concern. But, like, putting these teenagers into mortal danger, no problem with. Trent is like the only normal person. I think that's why I like him. And Owen just reminds me of myself with like unhinged ADHD. I won't go over the whole season or all the challenges they do, but I will go over a couple. The first episode has them cliff jumping into shark-infested waters, which, what a way to kick off this show. I really like the way Justin rizzed up the sharks and made them carry him to the shore. That's like true alpha energy that Andrew Tate could never. They had another episode where they made them watch a horror movie about a psycho killer, and then Chris and Chef book it off the island looking horrified. Then the campers realize that they're being hunted by a psycho killer, aka Chef. Most of them rightly assume it's just another challenge, but a few genuinely are not messing with none of these horror shenanigans. Like, DJ is literally like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo the whole episode. Chef eventually gets everyone. Duncan decides to face off against him in a one-on-one, and I guess his entire plan was to just throw things instead of throwing hands. Really weird, but alright. Now, that left one person, Gwen, who also didn't think any of this was real, but then an actual psycho killer shows up, like the dude was the real deal, I think. Later he was in the confessional, and then also it shows him talking to the camera, so I probably think it's just a guy they hired for effect, but Who cares? This show just felt super mature for its time. I feel like nothing on Cartoon Network was this intense, and I did a little research because I'm not Wendigoon and this isn't a 3-hour video essay, but from what I read, and keep this in mind, this is on Reddit, so take it with a grain of salt, I guess, but the president of Cartoon Network at the time wanted a show to grab the attention of teenagers, so he decided to acquire Canadian shows. And even though they were censored a lot when they came to the US on Cartoon Network, I still remember it being the wildest kids show I ever saw up to that point. But that's all I really got for you guys. I just wanted to ramble about this old show I started watching again almost 17 years later that was just really out there. It was like watching a real reality show, but it was all animated. Like, I remember being on the edge of my seat for a lot of the challenges, and especially the marshmallow ceremony where they would vote people out. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you got anything to add, let me know in the comments below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.